Hey everyone, let me just get my screen presented. There we go. Presenter view. Start from the beginning. Okay, everyone should be able to see my screen. Happy Friday. I'm Jesse. If you don't know me, it's great to see you. I'm the creator of Base, day-to-day leader of the Base core team. Super excited to be here. We do this every month. And the goal is really just to bring together our builder community, folks who are building on Base, kind of share what's top of mind for us, what we're thinking about, where we're heading from the core team, and then open it up for questions. So folks who have questions about what's going on in Base, anything really, have the opportunity to open that up. And so we have a nice agenda today. I think it'll probably take like 15 minutes. Mostly going to be me chatting, and then I may bring up a couple folks from the team, and then we'll open it up for questions. As we're going through this agenda, feel free to jump in and raise your hand or post the question in the chat, and I'll try my best to answer them. No bad questions, so feel free to just jump in. So quick agenda. I want to give a quick recap of Q1. And well, first off, we're going to start with mission, vision, strategy. This is what grounds us, kind of how we think about what we're doing in the long term. Then we'll give a quick recap of Q1 and all the progress we made in Q1 as an ecosystem. Then we'll talk a little about scaling, because that's been top of mind, from a fee perspective. I think is really important, something we're focused on as a team. Then we'll share some updates on upcoming events so folks can actually see us in person, and then we'll open up for Q&A. And again, feel free to open it up for questions. Just raise your hand as we go. There's a little hand button down at the bottom. If you like what we're doing, if you like what I'm saying, you can click the emoji in the bottom as well. You can do a little reaction. You can give me a thumbs up, a clap, whatever is good. That gives me a little signal about how it's going. So I'm going to start with our mission, vision, strategy. We do this every week as a team. We just talk through the mission, vision, and strategy. And the reason that we do that is because it grounds us in kind of the high level of what's important to Base. And ideally, if we have a clear mission, vision, and strategy, then every single thing that the team is doing, and in many ways, every single thing that people are doing in the ecosystem is laddering up to that mission, vision, and strategy. And so this is kind of the anchor that when we're making hard decisions, can help shape those decisions, help us figure out how do we make the right ones. So from a vision perspective, our vision is a world where everyone is on chain. We say 1 million builders, 1 billion users, all on chain, all operating in this new on-chain economy. And the way that we're going to achieve that vision, the way we're going to bring the world on chain, is by building an on-chain economy that increases innovation, creativity, and freedom. That's Base. Base is an on-chain economy. We think about it having 3 core parts: a developer platform, which is kind of the place where all of y'all are building. That's where you write your smart contracts. That's where you deploy. We're trying to make it easier, better, faster to use. An app ecosystem. These are all the incredible apps that builders like y'all build, that everyday people can use, whether they're businesses or individuals, to do things that they want to on-chain. And then finally, a capital market, which is the kind of money that flows through the economy and enables it to work more effectively. So Base is an economy. It's composed of those 3 parts: a developer platform, an app ecosystem, and a capital market. And our goal is to build the largest economy in the world. That's an on-chain economy that increases innovation, creativity, and freedom. So that's our vision and mission. That's the North Star, where we're going and why. In terms of values and strategy, the values are on the left side here. We have 4 that we kind of come back to every time we talk as a team. The first one is for everyone. Base is for everyone. It's not just for people in a certain country. It's for everyone. It's not just for a certain type of builder. It's for everyone. The second is that Base is really a bridge, not an island. We don't think about Base as a place where we want to bring users and just like keep them there. Instead, we want Base to be an entry point for everyone to come on chain. And we think many people will onboard to Base and then will go transact on other L2s across the superchain, on other L2s outside of the superchain, on L1. On even other L1s that aren't Ethereum aligned. And that kind of bridge we think is really, really important for making sure that we're achieving our vision. The third value is that we're decentralized and open source. Everything we're doing is pushing that goal of decentralization, and that open source characteristic is a key way we achieve that. That's why we're built on the OP stack. That's why Base.org is open source and anyone can contribute to it. It's why pretty much everything we do, we end up putting on GitHub. And then the final one is to stay based. This is actually a new value that we just added. We used to have a different one here, but this feels more all-encompassing because it's kind of encompassing of the culture that we're creating here. And based culture, I think, has some sub-values in there about working hard. It's about believing in the team. It's about staying optimistic. It's about pushing the boundaries with creativity. And I think when all of us are kind of making decisions about who we want to work with, about how we want to be, our guiding ask is to stay based and to make sure that with every decision we make, we are living kind of those based values. So that's the value side. And then the strategy, this actually goes back to the kind of economy that I was talking about earlier. There's 4 parts of the strategy. The first is building out that developer platform, making it sure it works really well for all of you. The second is nurturing that vibrant ecosystem of apps so people actually have a reason to be on chain. The third is fostering a really deep capital market that actually supports us to be the center of this on-chain economy. And then finally, it's all about decentralizing and scaling so that we can actually achieve our mission and vision of building an on-chain economy that it changes the world. So those are our values and strategy. And just to kind of run that back for all of you, the vision is the world on chain. The mission is to build a global on-chain economy that increases innovation, creativity, and freedom. Our values are to be for everyone, to be a bridge, not an island, to be decentralized and open source, and to stay based. And then our strategy is about building an incredible developer platform, nurturing an incredibly vibrant ecosystem of apps, fostering a very deep capital market that everyone can participate in, and then decentralizing and scaling the foundation that makes it possible for all of us to build here. Dia Turini, I see that you may have a question. I'm not sure if that's an actual question, but if so, feel free to ask it. Okay, it doesn't look like it's a real question. But if other folks have questions, feel free to raise your hand and I'll jump in and try and give an answer. So that's our mission, vision, and strategy. That's kind of the North Star. That's where we're going. The thing that I do want to reflect on is we just turned the page on a quarter, and this was a pretty incredible quarter. I think this quarter base went from being in the game, being a meaningful contributor to really starting to lead from an L2 perspective. And so just a few metrics to kind of show all of the progress that all of you guys made in building base. First is that we see transactions and transacting addresses growing. So on the left, you'll see kind of transacting addresses. Oh, no, you see transactions. Yesterday was our first day ever with more than 3 million transactions in a day. The last 2 days, we've had more than 30 transactions per second. The transacting addresses on the right, you see that's been growing. We're up past 300,000 transacting addresses a day. Both of these metrics now mean that Base is kind of the largest L1 from a transactions and transacting addresses perspective. So that's really exciting progress. Builders, that's all of you. These also continue growing. So you can see Base here as the kind of blue line that has that steep curve on the right side. You can see that we are now, again, the number one L2. We're approaching Polygon in terms of the total number of builders. We're slowly making our way up to Ethereum. I think there's a path to crossing that this year, but really exciting to see just how many people are coming to Base and choosing Base as their home to build. DEX volume also continuing to grow really quickly. So you can see on the top left, that's DEX volume. We had our first greater than 1 billion volume day. We've been growing the number of users who are trading with Base. All of that has been pushing Base to be the number one L2 again, from a volume perspective and from a user's perspective. And so again, it's been really exciting to see, alongside all the builder energy that we have, the actual kind of trading activity following. And we generally think about builders leading and then user activity following. So builders are going to come, they're going to build awesome things. That's going to give reasons people to come on chain. That's going to bring a bunch of users. All those users are going to bring more builders who are going to build more awesome things, who are going to bring more users. And that's the flywheel that's going to grow this ecosystem until we have the whole world on chain. And then the final one, and we're not number one here yet, but we're growing really quickly. I think this week we'll probably cross 4 billion in TVL as measured by L2Beat. That's number 3. Obviously, Base has only been around for about 8 months at this point, versus a bunch of the other folks have been around for multiple years. And so it's been cool to see how quickly this has been accelerating. And I feel like there's a path this year to going to be the largest economy. So all of that has been just super exciting from a growth perspective. And I think what we're seeing is that, thanks to all of the hard work from all of y'all, Base is now, in many ways, the market leader, and it's the place that people want to be coming to build. And that has been so exciting. And I'm so proud of all of the work that all of y'all have done and the core team has done to get here. And the thing that I want to ground us in is that we are still at the very, very beginning. The very, very beginning. There's less than 300,000 people on chain every day. We need to get to there being billions of people on chain every day. And so that's many, many, many orders of magnitude that I think we can work together to make happen over the next few years. But I think it's really important that even as we're seeing this progress, we stay grounded, we stay based, we stay focused on the long term, and we remind ourselves that this is just the beginning. And if we work hard, we push each other, we live up to those values and strategy, we're going to be able to accomplish so much more together. So that's scaling. That's the progress in Q1. Before I jump onto scaling, I wanted to see, is there any questions about that progress that folks want to ask before we move on to scaling? Yeah, go for it, Frankie.
Hey, Jesse, Frankie from the Yellow Collective. I'm building a social app. We just partnered with Amazon. A lot of the kind of structure is around matchmaking and getting gamers to play with one another. We're just kind of approach to build out essentially a tipping system. And, we've been using Stripe and PayPal for a lot of our integrations. We're looking to move over to Base, but also I've been talking to OKX and Harmony. If we wanted to kind of get onboarded with you guys, what is kind of the best way to kind of get structured and get some technical input?
Absolutely. So I'd say, first off, excited that you're going to come and build with us. I think the best way is to just get started building. You're going to learn a ton from kind of that experience. You can join Discord. Ryan also can share our builder chat in Telegram. But I think that the thing that we've seen again and again be the most successful is people who come with that builder mindset. They start making an impact, and then the team can really lean in to help kind of amplify the impact that you're able to make. So super excited to get building with you.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay, if there aren't any other questions on the metrics and progress, I'm going to move on. And again, we'll have time for questions at the end. So don't feel stressed about getting them in now. So that was all the progress that we made in Q1. The next thing I wanted to chat about was the progress we're starting to make scaling and kind of where we see this going over the next year. If many of y'all have been following along, about 2.5 weeks ago, we shipped EIP 4844. This was something that the Base team had been working on for almost 2 years with a bunch of other Ethereum core development teams and OP Labs and Optimism, and it had a really profound impact on Base fees. So you can see on the left, the medium transfer cost went down sub-cent, huge impact. It opens up for developers and for users so much more possibility space. Now, the thing that I don't think we fully anticipated was how quickly that was going to drive up the number of transactions. So you can see on the left, the cost of transactions going down, and then you can see on the right, the number of transactions skyrocketing. And like I said, yesterday was our first 3 million transaction day. That's more than 30 transactions a second. And there's more and more appetite every day for people to be building and transacting on Base. So this happened, and I think what we saw was that because the number of transactions went up, it also drove fees back up. And that was pretty meaningful. So, there were a couple of days where, people were tweeting and they were saying, oh, I'm seeing like $5 fees or $10 fees on Base. And the reason that happened is because the thing we fixed with 4844 was we reduced the costs that we have to pay to Ethereum to settle. But there's still the cost for the gas market on Base, which is just like the Ethereum gas market. It has a capacity that it can kind of sustain. And once we start going over that capacity, the fees start rising. And so that capacity for Base was pretty low. We measured in something called gas per second, which is basically how much compute can developers do in every block. And the Base kind of gas per second was at 2.5 million gas per second. And so when we started seeing all those more transactions, that drove up the local fee market on Base. And it meant that as more people were trying to transact, fees got higher, and it led to these spikes. So the team moved really quickly on this. We worked with the Optimism team, and we started doing something called increasing our gas target. which basically means increasing the amount of capacity, or the gas per second that base can process. And so over about a week, we did 2 increases, one from 2.5 million gas per second to 3.75 million gas per second, and then the other from 3.75 million gas per second to 5 million gas per second. And each time we did one of those increases, we saw the overall cost come down. So we increased the target, fees came down. The first time we then saw fees rise again. The second time we did the increase, we've seen fees stay pretty steady. And I saw Kevin just ask. I think people might ask, "Oh, this is just like magic. You get to just increase a number and fees go down." In some ways, yes, but there's still a bunch of hard challenges, and you can't just keep increasing the gas target without doing a bunch of work to make sure that that's sustainable. And so our plan over the next 400 days is to try and increase the gas target by 400x. So we've been calling it internally 400x in 400 days. And what that means is it means increasing the gas target from 2.5 million gas a second to 1 gigagas a second. So 2.5 million is times 400 is 1,000 million, which is 1 gigagas a second. And in order to accomplish that goal, there's actually a bunch of really hard challenges that we need to solve. So the first is that we need to make it so we can actually run the blockchain this fast and with this much throughput. And so that's optimizing Geth, which is the primary execution client that we have. It's also exploring and using Ref, which is a new execution client built for performance. It's investigating optimistic parallelization and doing everything we can to make it so that this kind of computer that we're running, that all of us are running on nodes, is running as fast as possible. So that's the first big challenge that we're working on. The second big challenge is that we have to make it so that as we process all these transactions, we actually have the space to store them on Ethereum. And today, the amount of data availability that Ethereum has is still relatively low. It could process about, maybe like 20, 30, 40 million gas a second. But the second we start getting beyond that, there's a lot more capacity that we need to add. And so our team's starting to contribute to the overall Ethereum scaling strategy for data availability by pushing forward things like PureDApps, which is the next milestone on the Danksharding roadmap. That's going to get us a lot more capacity. Then from there, we'll do full Danksharding, which will get us a lot more capacity. And we think that there's a path to doing this over the next 18 months. And then the final challenge that we have to solve is managing what's called state growth, which basically points to this challenge, which is when you start running the blockchain faster and faster and you're processing more and more transactions and more gas, the actual state of the chain gets bigger and bigger. And so that changes the hardware requirements for nodes. It means that as that state gets bigger, you need more memory so you can actually store the state in memory so you can operate on it really quickly. And if you push that all the way to the limit, you can run into problems. And I think some of the earlier blockchains that have pushed kind of scaling the gas limit really aggressively have started to run into some of those problems. And so there's a bunch of solutions to this that are still in the kind of like research and development phase. In particular, migrating to something called Verkle trees, which is a kind of different way of storing the state in the EVM that's more performant, that lets us then do state expiry, which would basically mean that not every node needs to store all the state. Instead, only certain nodes need to store all the state, and then folks can kind of get that state as needed and start processing them. And so when we think about increasing the gas target, we're not just increasing the gas target willy-nilly. Our approach is that we're going to be incredibly measured. We're going to make incremental increases, and we're going to make those incremental increases as we do this really important research and execution work that actually enables us to do that in a safe and structured way. Because on one side, we have the goal of increasing to 1 gigagas a second and keeping fees really low. But on the other side, we have our goal of maintaining at a minimum 4 nines of availability, so 99.99 availability for the chain, and pursuing stage 2 decentralization, and making sure that we are progressing on those reliability and those decentralization goals at the same time that we're scaling is incredibly important, and we're doing the hard work to make sure that that's actually possible. So that's scaling. Before I move on to the next section, does anyone have any questions on scaling and the work that we're doing? Okay, no questions there. Again, there'll be time at the end for questions, so no need to get them in now. The last point on scaling, and I forgot I had this slide, but I'll voice over it now, is scaling is always a bit bumpy. We're going to see spikes of demand. We're going to try and keep up with that demand. But my ask for all of y'all builders is bear with us, communicate clearly, challenge us to make hard decisions, challenge us to work harder and make sure we're solving things, but also be expecting a little turbulence. Because whenever you scale 1,000x or 10,000x, it gets a little choppy. And I saw this firsthand. For 5 years, I led Coinbase.com as we scaled through 2017 and 2020 and 2021. Obviously, a lot of challenges there. Me and the team learned a ton from that. And a lot of the people who spent 5 years scaling Coinbase and learning about how to scale really well are now on the Base team scaling Base for this next generation of the internet. So I'm really excited to scale with all of you. I'm excited to bring all of that transaction activity so that we actually have a reason to scale. And I'd ask for your patience, your positivity, and your energy to help us scale together. Okay, so that's scaling. This is the last section, then we'll open up for questions. I just wanted to run through some upcoming events where you can see us in person if you're in any of these places where you want to go. The first is that we're starting to run based hackathons all around the world. So we have 2 coming up. One is in Singapore and one is in Paris, both on the 12th of April. These are kind of first party owned and operated by Base hackathons. We're calling them Based Paris, Based Singapore, and we're going to try and expand Based X to many, many more cities around the world. So if you're a builder, you're a hacker, you want to get hacking, join us on the 12th. That's next weekend in Singapore and Paris. We also have more community-driven meetups. These are, less about just building and more about meeting other builders, finding people you want to build with, and connecting to stay based. So we have ones coming up in New York City, Rome, Hong Kong, and across India. I think we're doing like 20 different cities in India in the month of March and April. And if you're interested in hosting a meetup, we want to give you resources to do that. The goal is to bring builders together in real life. We'll be able to give you, $2,000 to do that. You can get pizza, you can get an investment space, and you can bring together your local community to find other base builders, to get started building together, and to bring more base energy into the world. We've had some really incredible leaders who've already started to kind of step up to do this. I'll just give a shout out to Statuette, who's been driving a bunch of New York meetups the last few days and has been killing it. Ask her about Base. That's a sign that she has. Incredible work, Statuette. And then I know I'm going to butcher this name because I haven't pronounced it out loud, but Samia, who's been leading FBI Farcasters Builders India, and coordinating, I think, like 20 or 21 builder meetups across different cities in India, has been bringing so much builder energy. Just so excited to see all of the incredible energy and community that he's been building as well. So if you're looking for kind of like mentors or people who you can look up to as you're thinking about hosting a meetup, those are 2 great leaders in the Base ecosystem who totally independently and of their own initiative started hosting Base meetups. And then the last note is that we are also going to be at some hackathons and conferences coming up. So we'll be at Token 2049 Dubai. That's actually like a new one. I didn't realize that until just yesterday. Ryan's going to be there. We'll also be at ETH Dubai. If you want to meet up with Ryan and the Base team, feel free to ping him on Telegram. That's our first time starting up at Token 2049 in ETH Dubai. So really excited to be there and connect with builders in the region. And so with that, that's kind of the end of prepared remarks. We have about 15, 20 minutes to open it up for questions. And yeah, feel free to jump in. And if you can just raise your hand, that would be great. And maybe we can start with Sarek.
Yes. As a developer, I just wanted to ask, what's the entryway to get into the developer chats, or if there are any groups? Because I haven't found them myself yet. So if I could just be handheld, if there's a Telegram group or a Discord group, I'd love to join it and start participating.
Yeah, Ryan, go for it.
Yeah, if you just so if you go to base.org or docs.base.org, there's the Telegram, or sorry, there's the Discord on the top. If you could just DM me on Telegram with your project, we can get you added into the Telegram channel. Just send me links and highlight what you're building. It's not only for like engineers, builders, developers. It's for artists. It's for creators. Anyone who's doing cool things on Base.
Yeah, and just to give folks a little bit of a mental model for how we think about these channels, the largest community channel, the largest community channel for Base is /Base on Farcaster. That's where everyone in the Base ecosystem is. I think we have about 160,000 people there. The next kind of concentric circle, if you're just getting started building on Base, is Discord. We have tons of builders from our team in Discord. You'll be able to get help. You'll be able to learn how to do Basecamp. And when you're getting started, that's probably the best place to start. Then when you're actually like building a project on Base and you're committed, you're spending a ton of your time on that, and you're looking for other kind of builders who are in a similar level of dedication, we have a Telegram chat. And that's a little bit more close just so that we can make it really, really, really high signal. And so /Base is open to everyone. Discord open to everyone. Go check it out. If you want to join the Telegram, ping Ryan, share what you're working on, he'll add you to that. Casey, you wanna next question?
First off, thank you for your support. You responded to us on Farcaster when we sent you a DM for Vital Nation.
And one question, I'd love if people could just say their name and also say where they're calling in from when they do that, when they ask a question.
Hi, I'm Casey, one of the co-founders at Lemonade. We're building an open source ticketing and community management platform on top of EAS and Zero Knowledge check-ins. My question is, how do I get you guys to move from Luma and use a Lemonade standing set for ticketing? Who do I
love it. You should talk to Sarah, who's on the call, who organizes all of our events, SERRA. You can ping her. Always open to look at dog fooding on-chain products. We want to be doing more and more of all of our stuff on chain. I don't know if folks saw yesterday, but one of the things I was really excited about was we actually just started subscribing to a bunch of creators with Hypersub yesterday. So that's taking all of the kind of earnings that we've made from being a creator with all of our kind of base drops and actually giving them back to the ecosystem. And so we're always excited to try out on-chain products and feel free to just hit us up and we'll give things a look. We can't always promise we'll be able to switch or use them, but we love giving them a try.
Thank you.
Awesome, Casey. There was one question in the chat, so I'm going to answer that, and then I'll jump back to the list here. And that's, what is Base's perspective on layer 3s? Our perspective is that layer 3s are going to be a really big deal. The way I think high level about layer 3s is that at the top level we have the bottom we have layer 1. This is kind of the most decentralized. It's Ethereum. It's kind of going to be more expensive but maximally decentralized and secure. Then layer 2 is really all about scaling Ethereum, while basically providing the same guarantees. Similar level of decentralization, but much lower costs. I think most everyday users will onboard to Ethereum. It will be, to layer 2. It'll be predominantly EVM. You're going to have a ton of interoperability, and it's going to gradually over time become more and more tightly connected with layer 1. And then on top of layer 2, we're going to have layer 3. And the way I think about layer 3 is it's basically like servers that are connected on chain. And so just like today, there's, billions of servers all around the world and they run different programming languages and, they're configured in different ways and they have different trust assumptions. Layer 3s are going to be the same. There's going to be billions of them. They're going to run different programming languages and virtual machines. They're going to have different trust characteristics. Some are going to be more centralized. Some are going to be more decentralized. And they're going to sit on top of layer 2 and kind of plug into the on-chain economy that layer 2 provides and leverage the identity, the assets that actually live there. And so this is exactly what we're starting to see on Base. In the last couple of months, we've seen the rise of, at this point, I think a handful of layer 3s, but I expect there will be many more. The way I think about them as a developer is kind of as like a journey. So I think most developers will start on layer 2. You'll build an app. It'll be easy. That's the best place to get started. It's cheap. You can basically just deploy on a shared instance, kind of like you were using Heroku, so you don't have to worry about all the complexity. Then as your app scales, where it's like, oh, now we're doing millions of transactions a day, and it's costing a fair amount of gas on layer 2. Then you can pull out to a dedicated layer 3, which lets you continue to use all the infrastructure that you built on layer 2, maybe your token, maybe your NFTs, but in a dedicated environment. And so that's going to be kind of a scaling strategy. Think about it like moving from a shared computer to a fully dedicated server that's going to let you scale further as your application gets bigger and bigger. But I think that incrementality is really important. You don't want to prematurely scale because that's going to mean that you're focusing on all these other things that aren't as important as finding product market fit. I think most folks will start on layer 2 and then kind of scale to layer 3 as they reach more and more customers. Okay, next question was Da Vinci.
Oh, hello everyone. Da Vinci, a co-founder for Munchies. We're a new NFT collection coming to base shortly, with the core aim to amplify art, partnered with a number of large artists, etc. The question, I guess, is two-part. The first question is, since we're moving to base, is there a channel or recommended list of smart contract devs that we could look to employ or bring on board for our back end?
That's a good question. I don't know if we have a dedicated list of kind of back-end folks. Ryan, do you have anything to add in here?
Yeah, I think the best place to look would be the Discord server for that. And there is like a section for hire there's a channel there. And so I would just go and post in that side. And Will, can you post the link to the Discord server just so that we have it handy for everyone?
Yeah, sure thing.
Yeah, I see it.
I think that's actually a good it's a good push. Like one thing we could think about building would be like a kind of like a job board or base builder looking for builder. So that's it's something that we hear pretty frequently, and something we'll explore.
Okay, brilliant. Secondly, is there a group or a channel where I guess NFT founders congregate? Because there's not that many projects on base at the moment.
That's really the base, the Farcaster channel. That's, there's a combination of NFT creators. There's engineers. There's just everyone there, and it's a very super vibrant community. So just highly recommend going on that side.
Yeah, strong +1 to joining the Farcaster channel. There's also the /based art Farcaster channel where there's kind of a more art focus niche. But I mean, it's been pretty incredible to see how many NFT communities have been launching on Base. I mean, yesterday I think there was Swatches and Outlands launched. Today, Small Bros is moving over. I minted like the Weird Rugs project this morning, which was a funny one. I also minted a fungi yesterday. Which took me a second to even figure out what that was, but I have now a little mushroom, and so it's been really cool to see. I feel like in the last month, just so much energy of people starting to bring their creativity to Base. One other thing on the kind of NFT and culture front is we actually just finished or are in the process of wrapping up the Genesis release from Foundation on Base, which is the first time that they brought a bunch of one of one artists to Base. And I was looking at that. I think there was like hundreds and hundreds of bids. The average bid price was over an ETH, and I think it's really starting to show that at this point people are looking at Base as Ethereum. You have kind of that scale collector base. You have a ton of people bringing real high quality art, and it's really cool to see that we kind of have both ends of the spectrum now. We have people who are doing kind of scaled projects using the lower fees. We also have people who are doing the art, and that even benefits from having lower fees. So I'm really excited about how much creativity is coming on chain right now. Any other questions? Yeah, Ethan.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Happy to be here. Happy Base Friday. What are your thoughts on as far as L3 and onboarding and offboarding? I know you've talked about onboarding and offboarding and that being kind of a big deal. How are you looking at that towards, going from an L2 and then having to go back from an L3 back to an L2 and the timeframes with that?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I think one of the perspectives that we have around why L3s are going to be really interesting is you can onboard to an L3 through L2. So what that means is it means that because there's a ton of on ramps that we're building to Base and off ramps that
I mean specifically.
Yeah, go for it.
Sorry, like specifically like fiat, right? I mean, I know of course we want to stay inside, but like specifically like if you're and even like people are using crypto, spending crypto with a card, right? So how does fiat work with that?
Yeah, that's I was kind of getting there, but the basic idea is because Base is building really, really rich on-ramps to Base, and because the way L3s work, where L3s settle directly to Base, and you can have really fast bridging into L3s because of the base block times and because of the way that that kind of bridging works, what we're starting to see is that people are basically building on-ramps that go through Base to the L3. And so I think like Decent is a good example of this. What they let you do is they let you on-ramp from Fiat and on-ramp directly to the L3. And the way that that works is rather than Decent building a whole direct integration where they're running the chain, they just build the integration to Base, and then they use smart contracts on Base to execute the transactions on the L3. And that's way, way, way more scalable. And so I expect what will happen, and this is just starting to emerge because these L3s are just starting to emerge, is there's going to be a ton of infrastructure and tooling for developers that basically wraps all of the L2 on-ramps and makes them available out of the box on any L3, because they can all follow this pattern of ramping to L2 and then executing the transaction on L3. And so what that means is you're going to have really, really great on-ramps that are the same as the on-ramps to L2 on L3. So that's what solves the on-ramp problem. I think for off-ramping, there are slightly different considerations because you're going to have some latency when you're trying to get funds off of the L3. So for instance, if you're running an optimistic L3, you're still going to have that 7-day hold period. And so I think there are going to be people who do kind of liquidity management to make it so users have instant off-ramps. But that is going to be a little bit trickier. And I think it's going to be important for us to figure out ways to get down that kind of settlement time from the L3 so you can actually get faster and faster off-ramps for users.
Thank you. Thanks, Jesse.
Yeah. Thanks for asking, Ethan. I think technically Web3 was next.
Hi, how's it going?
Good.
So I'm actually just building on Base for the very first time, and I'm a little bit confused about, I was looking for, I guess, like a Base coin that I can use to pay in gas. Is it just Base ETH that we use to pay gas fees?
It's just ETH. Base is Ethereum, and you just use ETH to pay gas fees. There's no Base token. Obviously that's different than some other chains, but what we're really focused on right now is just building an incredible developer platform. And we think the easiest way to do that is to let people pay in ETH.
Awesome. And I guess I had another question, which is kind of, I don't know where to start with this because I was going off of something that somebody told me about Base, which was that you can actually log in using a Web2 thing to kind of generate a wallet. Is that something that Base, or is that something that's the Coinbase wallet architecture?
Yeah, so that's the Coinbase wallet architecture. I don't know if folks have seen it, but we have been working with Coinbase to launch something called the Smart Wallet. Which hopefully should be launching in weeks, not months, before the summer, because on-chain summer 2 is coming. We think that that's going to be far and away the easiest way for people to get on-chain. You're going to be able to get set up in less than 10 seconds. You don't need a separate app. You don't need an extension. It works across all apps. Out of the box, it's a fully unified wallet. It's going to have direct connection to on-ramps so that you can spend from a debit card, spend from a credit card, you can spend from your Coinbase balance, and all of that's just going to work totally out of the box. So if you're a builder who is thinking about onboarding and thinking about how to make it as easy as possible for users to onboard, I'd really encourage you to check out the Smart Wallet.
And does that use the Web3 auth? Is that using the Web3 auth technology?
Yeah, it uses the Connect wallet standard as a smart wallet.
That's awesome. I'm excited.
Yeah, try it out. Mick, I think you're up.
Hey, Mike here, and I'm calling in from New York. Joined a little bit late, so I'm sorry if you covered this. If you did, I'll just watch the recording or something. But I've seen you coin something like gigagas or megagas. I don't know, something. Did you cover this already? Could you kind of give me an explain on 5, what is this new gas denomination? Why do we need it? What is it?
Yeah, so I'm just putting up my slide. Here you go. So what is gigagas? So basically, we did cover it. You should definitely watch the slides because I talked over this for a few minutes, but I'll just say it again for folks who maybe didn't catch it. The thing that is, I think most important for impacting how much throughput Base can process is something called the gas target, which is basically, how much gas can we process per second. The average, like a transfer costs 21,000 gas. And as of 2 weeks ago, when 4844 launched, Base was able to process 2.5 million gas per second. So, transfer cost 21,000 gas. If the block was all transfers, that would be 1,000 transfers. Now, most blocks aren't just transfers. There's many more things, and most of them are way more gas expensive. And so, what we're aiming for over the next kind of 400 days, although that's a stretch goal, obviously, is to increase the target from 2.5 million gas a second to 1,000 million gas a second, which is 400x 2.5 million gas a second. So we're going to multiply 2.5 times 400, which is 1,000. And the name that we've coined for that is 1 giga gas a second. And so it's basically saying we want to be able to process 1,000 million gas per second over the next 400 days. We're going to do that incrementally. There's a ton of work that we need to do in order to get there. We've done our first doubling. So we went from 2.5 million gas a second to 5 million gas a second in 2 stages, with the second one happening earlier this week. And there's a lot of work, but I feel like there's a path to doing this if we push really hard and make sure that we're also balancing kind of the scalability with reliability and decentralization on the other side.
Awesome. Thank you.
And sorry I said Nick. Good to know it's Mike. I've always known, because you and I have DM'd so much, but I just had never known Mike.
It's all good, man. Thank you. You can't get a 3-letter ENS name for Mike is impossible. So this is crazy.
I love it. Okay, we have 5 minutes, so I'm going to try and power through these last ones. Maisam, you're next.
Hi. Do you have my voice?
Yeah, it's you. Yeah.
Can you hear me? Okay. Hello, everyone. I'm Maysam from Turkey. We are working on an AA wallet that uses passkeys as to sign transactions instead of the seed phrase. And right now, we are using Turnkey. These passkeys have a curve that is not supported in the EVM itself. I was thinking that if it is possible to add some precompiled verification for that, or I don't know, maybe some L3 for that, or any other possibilities.
That's a good question, and we are on it. So in the next Base hard fork, which I think is probably about I don't know exactly, it's sometime in the next couple months, we are releasing support for EIP 7212. Which is a precompile for SecP 256R1, which is the precompile you need for doing passkey signature verification. So that'll be coming late May. We've been working on that for a while and excited to deliver that for builders. Next up, Da Vinci. I didn't know if you had another question. Did you have another question, Da Vinci?
Oh no, I doubled up twice on the same question. Shout out to Foundation though, very bullish. I saw the move over.
Love it.
So yeah,
awesome. Yeah, you want to just lower your hands just so it doesn't confuse me. Arif, you're next.
Hey Jesse, all the way in Singapore here. It's 1:45, but I'm pumped because of the awesome team that you've built and all of the wonderful people. So congratulations. Just a quick question, Jesse. In terms of the gas sponsorship program, as you guys scale it out, is that something that's still going to continue? Which partners? I know that Bioconomy is also a partner there. Could you just expand on that a little bit? Because we've had to go through a little bit of understanding as to how to navigate that.
Yeah. So first off, for those folks who don't know, we have gas sponsorship that we're doing with a bunch of folks. I think Bioconomy, Pimlico, Alchemy, StackUp, Coinbase Cloud, maybe a couple others. You can get 1 to 5 ETH, or up to 1 or 5, I forget exactly, up to some amount of ETH of gas sponsorship to get started building the smart wallets. We are absolutely going to continue doing that. We're going to keep scaling it. So expect more subsidies as we kind of build out the program. The last month is basically the first time we've ever done this. So there's a lot of kind of choppiness. If you have questions and are having issues, please reach out to Ryan. He can point you to Nick Prince, who's the product leader who owns all of the gas sponsorship stuff. He'd love to meet with you, hear what challenges you're running into, and actually make sure that we're solving those challenges so we can scale the program. And this summer, we're going to be doing a ton of gas sponsorship. So if you're building apps this summer, please make sure that they support smart wallets and that you can use paymasters.
Okay, no, thank you, Jesse. And then one other question. I'm in Singapore, so I'm really grateful to attend the event in Singapore. Is there any focus for Base on certain emerging markets, like in Asia, and like, is there a strategy there that you guys have?
Yeah, so Base is for everyone, and so we have a pretty global focus, but we're definitely, I'd say from an emerging market perspective, like really focused on Singapore, although I don't know if you really consider that an emerging market. Kind of that region around there, and then I've been spending a lot of time in Kenya and Nigeria because I have had a bunch of kind of like history there, and then also in Argentina, in LATAM. So I'd say those are probably the places that we're most focused on from an emerging market perspective.
Thank you, Jesse.
Sarek?
Yes. Hi again. I'm Sarek calling from Austin, Texas. As a developer, my mind has solely been on scaling, reduction of friction. How do we make it easier for the average person to interact? And that's where my mind's at when I build products. And so my question was, where's Base's mind at for scaling? But you kind of already answered that in scaling the chain. And then also you mentioned the smart wallet. Is the smart wallet part of, is it a Base team or is it a separate team? I was curious to hear a little more.
Yeah. So scaling, it's a huge focus for us. Our North Star from a decentralized and scale perspective is to have a chain that can process 1 gigagas a second at 4+ nines of availability and have stage 2 decentralization. And so those are kind of like the things that we're working on every day from an infrastructure perspective. On the smart wallet, that's actually by the Coinbase wallet team, but the Base team has embedded with them over the last 6 months to build it. So we basically took some of our best engineers and we've been trying to figure out how do we accelerate the kind of usage and growth of smart wallets. And we felt like one of the biggest ways would be helping Coinbase make that transition. So we embedded with Coinbase wallet, helped them build the first testnet launch, are supporting them as they get to the mainnet launch. But that's going to be a fully Coinbase owned and operated product. One of the outcomes from all of that work that we did, which I think Carl was just sharing about in the stack, in the chat, was that we actually ended up writing 2 EIPs to add better RPCs for wallets that let us have a lot more kind of flexibility and give a lot more power to developers when they're building with smart wallets. So they let you have more customization around paymasters, let you do batch transactions. And so if you're a developer building with smart wallets, would really encourage you to leave comments on those EIPs. We're trying to get them finalized over the next month or so, and Coinbase Wallet and the Smart Wallet is going to be supporting them out of the box from day one. And that means that developers who are kind of integrating with the Smart Wallet are going to have a ton of flexibility and power from day one as well. So would love to get to use all those with all of you. And just because we're running out of time, I'm going to close new questions from now. So we'll hit Valerie, Farzad, and then Matt. So Valerie, why don't you start?
Hey, Jesse. Happy Friday. And thank you for speed running through these questions. I'm Val, Valcoholics. I'm based in Washington, D.C. And my question is...
I'm from D.C., born and raised.
Yay. All right. So is there a legal resource hub for Base entrepreneurs? Like people, who's the absolute best person to talk to for someone that's like Gen Z, that they're building their first business for the first time and they're going full in on like Base and they've never done this before? Like, is there a forum?
That's a great question.
Yeah,
that's a great question. So legal resource hub, we don't have one yet. But it's something we're thinking about. I think Discord's probably the best place to get started. I don't know, Ben, Will, I imagine there's some builder support in there. And then, there's obviously founder support on Farcaster and in the Base channel. So I'd say Base Discord's probably the best place to get started. And I hear you on the legal resources, and it's something we're thinking about and working on. And I'm glad that they're building on Base, or you're building on Base, whoever you're referring to.
Thank you. And I'm just referring to people that aren't ready to be founders, but they're definitely ready to be contributors and need that that layer of protection in the US.
Yeah, I love it. Great to think ahead. Okay, last question, Matt.
Hey, appreciate it. Matt from Colorado. I'm building Verbs DAO. Just launched the contest. Ryan, your contest is getting uploaded right now too, so got some verbs coming for you. So my question is around smart wallets. That's like a very critical thing for us because we're trying to onboard normal people. We're a fork of the V2 Nouns protocol, and so we're trying to onboard people with accessibility. And so, like, it's super critical that we can onboard people for very cheap fees and like not have it be that you're using crypto, but that you're just joining a community of people to build out and like have the resources to work together. And so the smart wallets are super critical to us. How do I get more info, or how do I get more involved to like integrate that as we keep going?
Yeah, well, first off, so excited about Verbs. I've been following Verbs from pre-launch, and I'm so excited about the contest that's going on. I actually just saw that people have started creating Verbs for me, and I'm really excited to pick one and buy it in the auction. Super epic. So thanks for all the creativity you guys are bringing on chain. In terms of the smart wallet, the best place to get started is at smartwallet.xyz. And then you can actually also go to our GitHub. So if you go to github.com, or not ours, but Coinbase's GitHub, and you go to github.com/smartwallet, Coinbase/smartwallet, that's the full open source code. There's also the Magic Spend stuff there. It's really easy to integrate. So the cool thing about the smart wallet is that it just integrates through the existing wallet provider. So if you have RainbowKit, all you need to do is bump your RainbowKit version to version 4, and you'll have the smart wallet out of the box. You don't need to change anything. You don't need to do a whole different configuration or setup. You just bump your RainbowKit version or your Connect wallet, whatever mechanism you use for that. If you want, you can add a button that's like create a wallet alongside sign in. All that will do is just open up the smart wallet in like kind of the create flow by default. So I'd say get started using that. And you can also get started integrating with these new RPCs. They let you do batch transactions. They let you spend users' Coinbase balances directly. There's a ton you can do there. So I would encourage you to check them out.
Okay, cool. Appreciate that. And then I have one more real quick. So we're doing a huge event potentially at FarCon with at a skate park with Bob Burnquist and a bunch of people. So I'm trying to get sponsors, and we've got a big agency working with us to onboard a bunch of people. So just need to connect later on about that, like getting a base sponsor.
Yeah, I love it.
Something like that. Okay.
Yeah, well, if you could reach out to Sarah, who's in the chat here, SERRA. She does all of our builder kind of like go-to-market stuff. I would love to have a conversation about it. And we'll be at FarCon in a big way as well. So hope to see folks there.
Awesome. Thanks. Appreciate
it.
it,
With that, everyone, we're going to wrap. Thank you so much for joining on this beautiful Friday, Base Builder Friday. So grateful for all the energy that all of you have built in Base over the last months and years. And remember, we are just getting started. It's still day one. So stay based, keep building, and keep bringing the world on chain with all of us. Have a Base weekend, everyone. Let's go.